Hello, a very good morning to Kirti Joshi sir. Namaste and warm welcome to all you joining us today for the crucial webinar on issue in bogus billing, overstocking, understock and interplay in GST versus income tax compliances. I am particularly delightful to see so many practitioners from India here today as we understand the complexities of the tax compliances all too well. And the topic we have been delivering in today, bogus billing, overstocking, understocking management, and navigations, the GST income tax mess are undoubtedly some of the most uh, pressing challenges businesses face. That's why I am honored to introduce our esteemed speaker, C.A. Kirti Joshi sir. With him in unparalleled expertise and insightful approaches, Kirti sir will guide us through this intricate matters, equip us with the practical strategies, and empower us to achieve seamless compliances and optimized tax efficiency with the confidence. Let me introduce Kirti sir. CA Kirti Joshi sir is a chartered accountant and postgraduate in commerce. He has worked in Mumbai in banking sector and is presently a partner in Harish Khandelwal and company in Indore. His area of expertise is direct taxation and indirect taxation. He is secretary and Central India Regional Council member of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. He has served as a chairman of Indore branch of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India in the year 21-22. He also served as a SICASA chairman, treasurer, and vice chairman of Indore branch of ICI. Let us know the academic contributions of Kirti sir. He has been a member of editorial board of newsletter of Indore branch of ICA for year 14-15 and member of editorial board of monthly publications of tax practitioner associations, tax views and news for the year 15 and 17. He has addressed more than 500 seminars on GST and indirect taxation in various departments and institutions like GST Department of India, Service Tax Department of India, Income Tax Department of India, MP Sales Tax Department, Indian Railway, MSME Department of MP, Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and many others. He has served as a faculty in various academic institutions and colleges. He has been presented paper in various seminars and conference across the country. He is a regular columnist in Dainik Bhaskar newspaper and his article has been published in various newspaper, magazine and journals. He is nominated member of study group of DTC of analysis and direct tax implications of new company law. He is also a full marathon runner of 42 kilometers and ultra distance cyclist 200 kilometers. Patrika newspaper nominated and awarded him as most 40 influential personality of MP and CG having age less than 40 years.
Should I start, sir?
Okay, sir. Shall we also start?
Sure.
Okay, sir.
Thank you for such a nice introduction, sir. And it is just like a submission for bogus invoicing and fake input tax credit. So first of all, if it talks about the bogus invoicing or fake invoicing, actually bogus word or fake word is nowhere defined under the Act. As far as the invoice is concerned, so section 2, subsection 66 talks about the definition of invoice. And according to section 2, subsection 66, tax invoice is invoice which is defined under section 31 of the GST Act. So bogus invoice or fake invoice, officially there is no terminology is into existence right now. But when we receive the notices from the department, they always alight and says that you have done some bogus transactions or there are some fake purchases. So there is one circular also, circular dated 17th March 22, in which they have used the word fake invoice. And according to department, there are three types of transactions, or generally there are three types of transactions which are covered under the bogus purchases. The first transaction is issuance of invoice without issuance of goods or services. If someone has issue only invoice and they have not supplied any goods or services, then particular that transactions are fall or covered under the definition of bogus invoice. Second type of transactions, we can say that someone has only provided the invoice to suppose Mr. A is a dealer, he has provided invoice to Mr. B, and Mr. B actually purchased or taken services from any third party, and he has taken the purchase bill from the A. So we can say that it's a basically accommodation entry. So that is the second type of transaction. Third type of transactions are circular trading. A sold goods to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, E to F, and so on. So what are the basic difference between A, B, C? First thing. Second, we have to discuss what are the reason हम क्यों generally जाते हैं when we have the bogus invoicing transaction, and what are the motto why we do. So first is banking transaction. It happens कि banks ask us कि आपका इतना turnover तो होना चाहिए, and if you have that much turnover, then we will provide you the loan facility. So to accommodate the loan facility, there is one reason. Second, public issue. If someone is planning for public issue, so वो companies generally इस type के transactions करती है. Third, if you have excess input tax credit available with you, and to encash the input tax credit, you just do billing to someone. So that is the third kind of transactions or motto. Fourth, utilization of input tax credit against the exports of goods or services. And fifth, for adjusting the profit of any company or a person. So these all are the basic objects for having the bogus invoices. So if we talks about the first types of transaction where you have issued the invoices, or someone have issued the invoices without issuing the goods or services. In that case, what is missing? First thing, generally जब हम इस तरीके के transactions की बात करते हैं, so there is a missing of supply. And because there is a missing of supply, Section 7 of CGST Act defines the supply. And according to Section 7, if you are engaged in supply of any goods or services, and supply includes all form of supply of goods or services, such as sale, exchange, transfer, barter, rental, lease, license, disposal made, agreed to be made for a consideration in the course of furtherance of business. So अगर कोई आदमी supply के बिना, without qualifying the definition or conditions of the supply, केवल invoice देता है, and if he issues the invoice only, in that case actually there is no supply. So first question, does department collect tax from particular that person? Although we are not supporting any kind of bogus invoicing, but first question arises whether department can have right to collect the tax because there is no supply. So according to Section 73 and 74, department is not supposed to collect any tax, but according to Section 122, subsection 1, clause 3, or sec 2, talks about the issuance of invoice without issuance of goods. और penalty के जो provisions हैं according to Section 122, they triggers out in that case. So suppose A sold goods to B. In that case, A is liable to pay the penalty under Section 122, subsection 1, clause 2 of GST, although he is not liable to pay tax under 74 or 73. Second, what about the B who received the goods, or sorry, who received the invoice, but he has not actually received the goods? So in that case, B has availed the input tax credit without receipt of goods. So there is a contravention of Section 16, subsection 2, clause B. So actually he has not received the any goods or services, therefore he is not supposed to get the any benefit of input tax credit. So he is liable to reverse the input tax credit along with the applicable interest under Section 50. So these are the consequences if you are, or if someone has engaged in bogus transactions. But practically what happens? In many cases, it happens that department say that you are engaged in bogus purchase or bogus sales. But actually, the person is not engaged in bogus transaction. Or कब होता है? Generally in case of agency business, if you have purchased any goods through agents and agents supply the goods and you don't know the actual supplier, although you have received the goods. So you have fulfilled all the basic conditions. So what are the conditions mentioned in section 16? First, you must have a valid invoice. So you have the valid invoice. Second, you must receive the goods or services. So you have received the goods or services. Third condition, the person has discharged his tax liability. And if we talks about the discharge of the tax liability, तो मुझे लगता है ना पहले ना आज, we don't have any mechanism from which we can identify कि किसी person ने उस tax liability को discharge किया है या नहीं किया है. So that is the basic problem. इस तरीके की प्रॉब्लम आप में से कितने लोगों को आई है? अगर आप चैट बॉक्स में एक बार डालेंगे so that we can have an idea कि particularly you have purchased goods through agent and you have received the notice or your party have received the notices that there is a bogus transaction. Okay. Great. Okay. Fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. So in that case, हमारे पास प्ली क्या होना चाहिए? That is the first point. Second point, chances क्या हैं and what are the consequences in income tax or in GST? Generally जब हमें इस तरीके के notices आते हैं, at that time we receive the summon from department. That is the first thing, and they issue summon under section 70. और जब समन हमारे पास आता है तो जो प्रॉब्लम्स हम फेस करते हैं वो प्रॉब्लम हम ये फेस करते हैं कि डिपार्टमेंट जनरली डजंट अलाउ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट और कंसल्टेंट कि आप समन के टाइम पर आप वहां पर रहें या आप किसी तरीके से गाइड कर सके. तो कैन डिपार्टमेंट इज हैविंग दैट ऑप्शन और जस्ट yes, can department is having the option or they can have the right कि वो आपको ये कह सके कि बॉस you are not supposed to attend the personal hearing or you are not supposed to attend the summon. So as far as the statement recording is concerned, basically recording of statement is the personal interrogation, and during the personal hearing department is having that option that they can say that you are not supposed to answer the query, but you have one right with you. You can sit there and you can attend the hearing, but you are not supposed to answer or you are not supposed to hear anything. So we can say that कि visible difference में अगर आप बैठे हैं तो केवल आप confidence के लिए you can sit there, but you are not supposed to give any feedback or you are not supposed to answer any query of the department, because always personal hearing जो होती है वो व्यक्ति की होती है, personal specific की होती है, therefore you are not have a right to sit there. So that is the one thing. Second, during the search or survey, it happens कि हम ये कहते हैं कि बॉस हमारे कंसल्टेंट को हम इनवाइट कर लेते हैं और बुला लेते हैं. So during the search, department generally allows to chartered accountant. And why I am telling you, because over stocking और understocking जो है उसके क्या consequences हैं वो during the search we can find out. So that is one thing. So in case of Subhash Joshi versus DGGI, MP High Court given a judgment that there is no provision during the search proceeding advocate or chartered accountant can present. But again, there are other judgments in case of Oriental Rubber Industries versus Competition Commission of India. Honorable Delhi High Court says that, or given the verdict that presence of counsel is permissible. So there are different of opinion, but you can appear very well. That is my personal opinion. So that is one thing. And during the search or survey or in case of personal hearing, what happens कि generally someone आपको देके बुलाते हैं and they start the proceedings. They give you time for 11 o'clock, but they start recording the statements in evening at 5 p.m. So generally वो आपको क्या है देखा जाए तो mentally they harass you. So does you have any right? So in that case, what is the practical option which is available to us? We have to just report that we should carry one written submission with us, because generally क्या होता है कि हम एक good faith में जाते हैं और हम ये मान के चलते हैं कि डिपार्टमेंट ने हमें समन दिया है, so we are there, but we should have one written submission with us. और उसे जाकर हमें at the time of personal hearing that we are present before your good self for personal hearing, और उसको एक्नॉलेज करवा लेना चाहिए, बिकॉज इट्स मेनी टाइम इट्स हैपन कि हम पर्सनल हियरिंग पे जाते हैं, समन्स को हम देखते हैं, बट डिपार्टमेंट से बाद में नोटिस आता है कि यू आर नॉट प्रेजेंटेड. सो टू अवॉइड दिस टाइप ऑफ प्रैक्टिसेस, वी शुड have in our mind कि during the course of personal hearing we should be there. Second, कब बोलना है, कितना बोलना है, कब चुप रहना है और कैसे बोलना है, that is also an art. And why? Because personal hearing में they are not supposed to ask you the interpretational questions or questions of law. During the personal hearing, they can just ask the transactions or the general thing which you have done, but they are not supposed to ask you the questions of law. और अगर questions of law आपके पास आते हैं, so politely your client can say that कि I am not aware about the practicality of the question, मैं transactions आपको बता सकता हूँ. So that is another thing. Then बात आती है if suppose you have received the summon, आप summon पे जाते हैं, so what documents you should carry with during the personal hearing. So first, to establish the genuineness of the transaction, you should carry first all the invoices pertaining to particular that party. So you should have the copy of invoices. Second, bank transactions to establish that you have made the payment to particular that person. Third, goods receipt for the establishment of the receipt. Lorry receipt should be there, or weighing scale receipt should be there. If you have some CCTV footage available with you, then please carry the CCTV footage with you. So these all are the basic documents which you should carry, which during the course of personal hearing. So that is all about the, we can say that the personal hearing of particular that transaction. अब बात आती है written submission जब हम बनाते हैं, तो what points we should keep into consideration during the course of our written submission. First, we have to mention that we have fulfilled the basic conditions which is laid down under section 16. We have a valid invoice, so we should enclose the copy of invoice. Second, we have received the goods, so we have to establish that we have received the goods. So third thing, the person has discharged his tax liability or he has paid the taxes, which is next to impossible. I am not in the position to identify that particular supplier has discharged his tax liability. So I should have copy of GSTR 2A with me कि he has filed his GST returns, और GSTR 3B मुझे वैसे भी नहीं दिखता है उसने कितना टैक्स पे किया है. If he paid the correct taxes, yes or no, I am not in the position to identify the basic particular that he has discharged his tax liability. So I should carry the copy of GSTR 2A. with me, which is reflecting that particular input tax credit is reflecting in my tool. Fourth, I should carry some additional evidence like input output register if he has not questioned my sales, or if he has not questioned my quantitative details. In that case, he's not says, or he's not in the position to say that कि मैंने goods को supply नहीं किया, या I have received some goods or services without issuing of sorry, I have received only invoices without actually receipt of the goods. So primary bonus onus जो है वो मेरा discharge हो जाता है through all these things. So that is the much more important for me. So without challenging the sales, he cannot challenge my purchase. That is one thing. और अगर मान लीजिए GST is a value added tax, अगर मैंने वैल्यू एडिशन पे टैक्स डिस्चार्ज किया है और मेरा परचेज अगर जेन्युइन नहीं है, तो मेरी सेल भी जेन्युइन नहीं हो सकती. सो इन दैट केस वी कैन टेक दैट प्ली ऑल्सो. अगर हम बात करें कि और क्या रिकॉर्डिंग्स या और क्या चीजें हमारे पास हो सकती हैं, सो दीज ऑल आर द बेसिक थिंग्स जिससे हमारा प्राइमरी ओनर्स डिस्चार्ज होता है. सेकेंड, अकोमोडेशन एंट्रीज की अगर हम बात करें, सो इन रिलेशन टू अकोमोडेशन एंट्री, in case of accommodation entries, generally we received or someone received invoice from one party and received goods from another party. So in case A, suppose who has issued just invoice and he has not supplied the goods. So again, A जिसने केवल इनवॉइस दिया है, गुड्स नहीं दिया है, तो सप्लाई तो उसका कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है, और क्योंकि सप्लाई नहीं हुआ है, सो देयरफॉर he is again liable to pay the penalty under section 122 subsection 1 clause 2. But as far as B is concerned, B actually has not received any goods, so he contravenes the section 16(2) subclause B requirement. Therefore he is not eligible to get the input tax credit. And later on, B sold goods to C. Actually, if B have not received any goods, how is supposed to sell the goods to C? So he has discharged his tax liability and he has sold the goods to C. So C is supposed to get the input tax credit benefit, but B is liable to pay the tax in particular that case. So B is liable to pay tax for 122(1) subsection 2 and again 122(1) subsection 4. 8. So he has taken the input tax credit without receipt of goods. Therefore, his input tax credit is going to reverse. So these are the consequences in the hands of B. In case of circular trading, A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, and so on. Again, यहाँ पर दो तरह के transactions हो सकते हैं. First, A actually not paid the tax, and A transfer input tax credit to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, and so on. In that case, first example is going to prevail. Second transaction, इस तरीके के transactions हुए हैं, और it generally happens for banking purpose or all other purpose, कि they generally transfer the documents or they transfer the ownership of the goods through documentation, which is called constructive delivery. And if there is constructive delivery, then there is a question, क्योंकि section 16 subsection 2 कहीं पर भी और clause B कहीं भी ये नहीं restrict करता है कि you must receive the physical goods. So constructive delivery is also the kind of delivery. So if I have received the ownership of the goods, so I can always say that कि boss, there is a constructive delivery, and if there is a constructive delivery, in that case, I am supposed to get the benefit of input tax credit. So each and every transaction, only for if there is some transaction which is through book entry, you cannot say that it's a bogus transaction or it's a fake transaction. If ownership has been transferred, but actual movement of goods नहीं हुआ है, even though constructive delivery के through हमारे rights जो है वो ट्रांसफर हुए हैं. एंड सेम सेम जो है वो वेयरहाउस के केस में हमारे साथ होता है कि व्हेन वी सोल्ड गुड्स थ्रू ट्रांसफर स्लिप इन केस ऑफ वेयरहाउस, सो इट जनरली हैपेंस. सो दैट इज वन थिंग. अब जब हम कह रहे हैं कि जनरली जब हम बोगस इनवॉइस के हमारे पास नोटिसेस आते हैं तो दे सेज दैट कि सप्लायर डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट, और रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव डेट से जो है वो रजिस्ट्रेशंस कैंसिल हो जाते हैं. सो इन केस ऑफ रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव cancellation of registration, I am not liable, and there are n number of judgments which are in the favor of the assessee. सो आई कैन वेरी वेल टेक द प्ली कि जिस दिन मैंने उससे गुड्स परचेस किया था द सप्लायर वॉज रजिस्टर्ड, और आपने आज उसको बैकडेट से किया है, सो आई एम नॉट रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दैट थिंग. दैट इज वन थिंग. सेकेंड, सप्लायर डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट. इट हैपेंस जहां मैं आपसे कह रहा हूं कि कंस्ट्रक्टिव डिलीवरी के थ्रू ट्रांजेक्शन्स होते हैं, और जनरली इन केस ऑफ आयरन एंड स्क्रैप डीलर्स के केस में they used to purchase scrap from party X and they directly send goods to party Y. So there is no such requirement कि मेरे पास warehouse होना चाहिए, मेरे पास गोडाउन होना चाहिए. So there is no such kind of requirement is there. जब हम बात कर रहे हैं कि मैंने एक्चुअली कुछ सेल किया है कि नहीं, मुझे अब ये एस्टेब्लिश करना है, और जनरली आयरन स्क्रैप के केस में मैन्युफैक्चरर्स के साथ ये होता है कि दे यूज टू disallow the input tax credit, or they says that you are supposed to reverse the input tax credit against the bogus purchase. So what are additional evidence which I have? One, manufacturing. So I have particularly manufactured the goods. So I have manufacturing records, inward, outward registered available with me. Second thing, in case of manufacturing, power consumption bills are also there. So I can say that if you consider the inward outward ratio and power consumption records, so ये establish करता है कहीं ना कहीं कि we have done the manufacturing activity, and therefore we can have that ground with us. So that is all about the bogus invoicing in relation to uh, constructive delivery. And if we talks about the repercussions or consequences under Income Tax Act, so first section 148, which talks about the reassessment of income tax. So can department issue me the reassessment notice? Question from you. Can department issue me reassessment notice? Yes, definitely. Department can issue reassessment notice. So that is the first consequences which I am going to face. So what are the time limits for issuing of the reassessment notice? If the quantum of tax is less than 50 lakhs, then 3 years from the date of end of relevant assessment year, department can issue me the notice under section 148 for reassessment. Or if my income is chargeable to tax is exceeding by 50 lakhs, in that case, there is a time limit of 10 years from the date of end of the relevant assessment year. So that is one consequences. So अगर मान लीजिए कहीं पर ये होता है कि if we have accepted और इस तरीके से होता है, so in that case reassessment we can have one. Second, section 69C is going to attract in that case. Section 69C, unexplained expenditure. Department can always says that कि आपने बोगस खर्चों को डाला है, और it is the मतलब and in if they establish, so we are liable to pay tax under section 115 BBE. And as we know, the quantum of tax is very high if particular transaction fall under the definition of 69C. The rate of tax would be 60% plus 25% surcharge. So effective rate of tax would be 85%. Question whether in each and every case of bogus invoicing, can department take the plea particular transaction is fall under the definition of section 69C? Kindly comment in chat box. Yes. No. Only where established. Rahul ji keh rahe no. Only where established. If we accepted as bogus purchase and paid GST and reverse ITC, then yes. So there are few basic things जो generally department 69C के केस में consider करता है. First, if there is significant increase in turnover and as compared to turnover, your profit has not increased. That is the one thing which department can always take the plea. Previous year, your GP ratio was 5.4%, and in current year, there is a GP ratio is 1%. So we can say that, or we assume that you have done some bogus transactions. Second, if there is cash payment or multiple cash payments, you have purchased goods through unregistered person, or you have done cash payment, or there are prolonged pending payments if you have purchased goods from the registered dealer. So these all are the basic things which generally department is going to question at the time of assessment. But if department is not going to challenge the sales, in that case, purchase cannot be challenged. This, in case of Nitin Ramodar Dao Lohiya, or in case of Sunrise Enterprises Delhi, there are judgments have accepted the sales and you have not questioned the sales. In that case, you cannot trigger section 69C. So that is one thing. So again, questioning of sales is also important. Second, अगर कभी on the basis of third party statement, generally department अब यही कर रहा है कि GST डिपार्टमेंट में किसी को किसी थर्ड पार्टी ने कोई स्टेटमेंट मेरे अगेंस्ट टेंडर किया और पर्टिकुलरली वो स्टेटमेंट्स इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट ने बेस बनाकर लिया. सो डिपार्टमेंट और या मैंने कोई स्टेटमेंट टेंडर किया जीएसटी डिपार्टमेंट में, कैन इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट टेक पर्टिकुलर दैट स्टेटमेंट एज इट इज? नो. यहां पर सेक्शन 133 के अंदर डिपार्टमेंट को मुझे अफ्रेश अपॉर्चुनिटी देना होगी टेंडर की, और या फिर सामने वाले किसी पर्सन के स्टेटमेंट्स को मेरे अगेंस्ट अगर यूज किया जा रहा है तो क्रॉस एग्जामिनेशन का राइट देना इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो इन केस ऑफ कैनन इंडस्ट्रीज, मुंबई आईटीएटी ने जजमेंट दिया कि इफ यू आर यूजिंग पर्टिकुलर स्टेटमेंट against any SAC, in that case, the right of cross-examination must be there. So without having the cross-examination, they are not supposed to make addition under section 69. In many cases, department generally reject the books of accounts under section 145A. So if they reject the books of accounts, in that case, they are not supposed to do the addition under section 69C because they have not accepted my books of account. So there is no expenditure which I have claimed. So that is another point. So if they have rejected your books of accounts, then section 69C is not going to trigger out. Or in most of the cases, department consider some GP ratio or NP ratio for the purpose of the whole transaction. Again, in that case, they are not supposed to take the plea that section 69C is going to trigger out. So these all are the basics about the section 69. But very important, जब इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट से हमको नोटिस आता है, अगेन यही सारी चीजें हमको स्टैब्लिश करनी होगी. वी शुड प्रोड्यूस टू परचेज इनवॉइस and confirmation from the seller. Bank statement should be there, or inward registered, lorry receipt, stock registered, consumption records we have to produce, because once we produce all these basic details to the department, in that case, the primary onus is discharged by me, and now onus shifted on the assessing officer that he has to prove that there is something suspicious. So that is another thing. Third consequences are, if assessee offers any income under presumptive taxation, in that case, does section 69C is going to applicable? Yes or no? Kindly comment in the chat box. In case of presumptive taxation. Arpit ji asked me, will there be any dimmed income under section 56? No, Arpit ji, it's not a gift. So rightly said by all the participants that in case of presumptive taxation, section 69C is not going to applicable, because we have not maintained any books of accounts. So there is no question of claiming any unexplained expenditures in my books of account. So in case of presumptive taxation, there is no consequences in section 69. So my next question, so in case of presumptive taxation, am I not supposed to pay any penalty, or does any penalty can levied by the department on me? No, yes, no, no. So according to maximum participants, I am not liable to pay any penalty. It's not correct, sir. There is one change or one amendment in income tax. First, or general penalty they can levy. General penalty they can levy. But there is one change, or there is one amendment which is applicable from 1st of April 2020. There is one new section which is introduced by the Finance Act, section 271 AD. And it is a very important section. And why it's a very important section? Because although it is notified from 1st April 22, but department is always going to challenge it, ki particular that section is going, because we have introduced it through Finance Act 2020, so it is going to be applicable from 1st of April 2020. And section 271 AD is in relation to only bogus invoice or fake invoice. And it talks about the penalty for failure to keep the maintenance of books of accounts. If you have done some falsify entry in your books of accounts, or there is some omission, then section 271 AD is going to levy the penalty on you. And it is going to introduce to stop the malpractices as said by the finance minister. So we have to consider the section 271 AAD also, because it's very important that department at any point of time during its proceeding, the language of the section is what? First, it is not, it starts with the notwithstanding anything contrary content. So it's having the overriding effect from all and all sections. So if you have done something wrong or there is some omission, so during the proceedings, if or proceedings means what? Whether under assessment, search, survey, or reassessment, or any proceeding, if they found you have done some false entry in your books of accounts, or there are some omitted entries, false entry does not require that there should be some evasion of tax. False entry है, that means you are liable to pay the penalty at the rate of 100%. जितने का entry amount है, equivalent amount you are liable to pay the penalty. And in case of omission, if the particular omission is there for evade the tax, in that case, you are liable to pay the equal amount of penalty. Anurag ji, when I purchased, the supplier was registered, but department cancelled the registration of supplier. Yes, definitely, Anurag ji. I will share. So, false entry, if there is any false entry in books of accounts, default. अब question जो है, what is the question? Suppose I have purchased some goods from Mr. X during July 2017 and I have not paid amount to Mr. X. And there is an outstanding amount in my books of accounts on 31st March 21. Can department levy penalty under section 271 AAD? I'm repeating again. I have purchased some goods in July 2017 first, and the amount is still outstanding against such supply, and department is saying that it is a bogus purchase and entries are appearing in my books of accounts on 31st March 21. Can income tax department start proceeding under section 271 AAD? Murali Krishna, no. Ravi Matle, no. Sir, but the wordings of the section is draconian, I can tell you. Because if default is pertaining to even the previous year, but entries are appearing in your books of accounts, you have an opening balance or you have a closing balance in your books of accounts. That means entry found in your books of accounts. And if entry found in your books of accounts and the entry is falsify entry, it's not the genuine entry. In that case, section 271 AAD is going to trigger out. So that is one thing which we have to keep into consideration. Second, does section 271 AAD will applicable even though you have not maintained the books of accounts? So in maximum cases, we thought that 271 AAD is not going to applicable, or in case of presumptive taxation, section 271 AAD is not going to applicable. No, sir, it's not like that. In case of section 44 AD presumptive taxation, I am supposed to provide the basic details of sales, GP ratio, NP ratio, debtors, creditors, closing stock. If I have not declared the correct amount of debtors or creditors or stock, in that case, department may impose penalty under section 271 AD. Then, if my books of accounts were rejected by the department under section 145(3), in that case, can department issue me the notice under section 271 AD, or department may impose penalty on me? Kindly give the answer in chat box. Suppose my books of accounts were rejected by the department. In that case, department can issue or can impose penalty on me? No, because books rejected. Rohan Somani ji. No. Even though, sir, they have rejected your books of accounts. Why they have rejected your books of accounts? Why they have rejected your books of accounts? Because your books of accounts are not reliable. And reliable, why not reliable? Because of the reason. If the reason is bogus transaction, or if the reason is falsify entries, or if the reason is omission of the entries, if the reason is omission of the entry, in that case, they may attract the penalty. If they generally reject it, then yes. But if they specifically mention in their order, we are rejecting because of we are not found these entries in books of accounts, or we are rejecting because these entries are there and we are not rely on the books of accounts, in that case, they may impose penalty and it is going to be questioned before the authority. If someone has deleted the entry, or someone has just entered into transaction, suppose someone has issued the invoice and he has not done any entry in books of accounts, even though section 271 AAD is going to applicable on that. So these all are about the income tax consequences. So in under income tax, section 271 AAD is there, section 69C is there, section 148 is there, and yes, general penalty clauses are there. So we have to be very, very aware if there is any transaction, because acha, another question, can department impose penalty under section 271 AAD and also collect the tax under section 115 BBE from me? That is another question. Mrunali, yes, sir. Rohan Somani ji, what if we do not declare any amount in debtors and creditors, stock and all, only we maintain cash balance in case of 44 AD, then in that case, can it be assumed it as nil? Sir, stock, you cannot assume nil, na? Debtors, creditors, it might possible you are maintaining the cash system of accountancy and you are following the cash system of accountancy, then you can say that, but stock should be there. You cannot say that ki, I don't have a stock. Yes, they can levy penalty under section 115, under section 271 AAD along with the tax section under 115 BBE. So the effective rate of tax would be 185%. So because 271 AAD is overriding effect, or a person or department can impose penalty under any other section or in section 271 AD also. So we have to be very cautious. So that is all about 271 AD or section 69C and section 148 of the Income Tax Act. As far as the overstock and understock is concerned, what generally happens, जब हमारे यहाँ पर सर्वे होता है, सर्च होती है और इस तरीके की कोई एक्टिविटी जब होती है तो डिपार्टमेंट जनरली स्टॉक टेकिंग करता है और ड्यूरिंग द स्टॉक टेकिंग डिपार्टमेंट हमें जनरली इस चीज के लिए जो है वो बोलता है कि बॉस यू हैव पर्टिकुलर दैट स्टॉक विच इज एक्सेसिव स्टॉक और आपके पास ये स्टॉक है जो शॉर्ट स्टॉक है. इन केस ऑफ एक्सेसिव स्टॉक डिपार्टमेंट कहता है कि यू हैव डन सम परचेज विच इज अनरिकॉर्डेड परचेज. और इन केस ऑफ एक्सेसिव स्टॉक इन केस ऑफ शॉर्टेज ऑफ स्टॉक वो कहता है कि यू हैव रिमूव द गुड्स विदाउट इश्यूएंस ऑफ द इनवॉइस. सेकेंड, जब हम सर्च की बात कर रहे हैं तो सर्च या सर्वे पर्टिकुलरली किसी के यहाँ भी हो सकता है और सर्च में क्या घर को कवर किया जा सकता है, तो यस दे कैन कवर योर हाउस ऑल्सो. बट पावर की जब हम बात कर रहे हैं सेक्शन 67 में सर्च की, इंस्पेक्शन की, सीजर की, सो ऑफिसर जो है वो फर्स्ट हमको देखना होगा कि इट शुड नॉट बी बिलो द रैंक ऑफ जॉइंट कमिश्नर. और if taxable person has suppressed any transaction related to supply of goods or services, or he has claimed the excessive input tax credit, or he has done some contravention of the act or rules for the purpose of evasion of the tax, in or assessing officer is having a reason to believe or proper officer is having to reason to believe कि उसने ये सारी चीजें की है, then only सर्च या सर्वे हो सकता है. सर्च सर्वे हुआ, हमारे यहाँ एक्सेसिव स्टॉक और शॉर्टेज ऑफ स्टॉक पाया. इसमें एक प्रॉब्लम और आती है. सपोज आई हैव एडिशनल प्लेस ऑफ बिजनेस और मैंने उसको मेरे रजिस्ट्रेशन सर्टिफिकेट में अपडेट नहीं किया. और जनरली ये होता है कि हम लोग एडिशनल प्लेस ऑफ बिजनेस को रिपोर्ट नहीं करते हैं. एंड डिपार्टमेंट ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ सर्च और ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ सर्वे ये बोलता है कि बॉस वो जो आपका एडिशनल प्लेस पे स्टॉक रखा है हम नहीं मानते हैं कि वो आपका स्टॉक है, आपने वो गुड्स को रिमूव कर दिया है विदाउट इशुएंस ऑफ इनवॉइस. सो दैट इज द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज. वी हैव टू बी वेरी कॉशियस कि अगर हमारे यहाँ कोई एसएससी है, उसके एडिशनल प्लेस ऑफ बिजनेस है, वी शुड अपडेट इट ऑन द जीएसटी पोर्टल सो दैट इन केस ऑफ सर्च और सर्वे डिपार्टमेंट आपसे ये ना कहे कि आपने वो जो स्टॉक रखा हुआ है वो स्टॉक आपने विदाउट इशुएंस ऑफ इनवॉइस जो है वो रिमूव कर दिया है. दैट इज वन थिंग. सेकेंड, जब जनरली इस तरीके का होता है या स्टॉक टेकिंग नहीं कर पाता है डिपार्टमेंट, डिपार्टमेंट क्या करता है, डिपार्टमेंट उस गुड्स को आइडेंटिफाई करता है और अलग कर देता है और कहता है बॉस इतना एक्सेसिव स्टॉक है, या तो आप इसके ऊपर टैक्स पे कर दीजिए या फिर अदरवाइज मैं इस गुड्स को जो है वो कॉन्फिस्केट कर लेता हूँ और मैं उसको रिलीज नहीं करूंगा और आपके लिए रिलीज करवाने में बहुत तकलीफ आ जाएगी. और जनरली हम उस दबाव के अंदर एक्सेसिव स्टॉक को शॉर्टेज ऑफ स्टॉक को सेल्स बताकर रिपोर्ट कर देते हैं. और एक्सेसिव स्टॉक पे डिपार्टमेंट हमसे कहता है कि आप टैक्स पे कर दीजिए, ये मानते हुए कि आपने इस गुड्स को परचेज किया है एंड यू हैव परचेज इट फ्रॉम द रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन विदाउट इनवॉइस, देयरफॉर आप इसके ऊपर टैक्स पे कर दीजिए. सो एज फार एज द एक्सेसिव स्टॉक इज कंसर्न, हमने बहुत सारे कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज जो है वो इनकम टैक्स में ऑलरेडी डिस्कस कर लिए हैं. सो जो कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज मेरे इनकम टैक्स में आएंगे कि इफ आई हैव इशूड द गुड्स विदाउट इशुएंस ऑफ इनवॉइस अगर हो गया है तो 148 ट्रिगर होता है. लेकिन इसमें हमें ये देखना है कि अगर करंट ईयर हुआ है, प्रीवियस ईयर हुआ है, वो सारी चीजें इनकम टैक्स में मैं प्ली दूंगा. बट जीएसटी डिपार्टमेंटल ऑफिसर्स जो हैं वो तो ये मान के चलते हैं कि यू हैव इशूड द गुड्स without issuance of the invoice. So that is all about the income tax implication in case of bogus invoicing or short or excessive stock. If you have any questions, you may ask. नहीं जी, मेरी तरफ से हो गया है. अगर कोई क्वेश्चंस है तो क्वेश्चंस आर वेलकम.
Hello,
Yes, Neil.
sir, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Uh, Sir, very few questions. Users, now can you ask questions in the personal chat box?
Yes, yes, डेफिनेटली, और आप अनम्यूट भी कर सकते हैं, कोई इश्यू नहीं.
Sure, sir. Sir, questions in chat box. Some questions are in chat box, sir.
यस सर. ये अनुराग सर आपके लिए हो गया केस लॉ, जिसमें पर्टिकुलरली गार्गो ट्रेडर्स वर्सेस जेसीआईटी दिल्ली के केस में कोर्ट ने कहा था कि मियरली यू कैन नॉट रिजेक्ट द इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट अगर रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव डेट से जो है वो रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिल हो गया है. सुनील अग्रवाल सर, शैल बी प्रोवाइड टेली अकाउंट्स इफ आस्क फॉर बाय जीएसटी डिपार्टमेंट. देखिए सर, ऑल्दो ड्यूरिंग द ऑडिट जनरली डिपार्टमेंट ऑफिसर्स आपसे कहते हैं कि आप टैली की बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स लाकर दे दीजिए. दे डोंट हैव राइट्स टू आस्क फॉर द टैली डाटा, बट दे डू. और प्रैक्टिकली हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं या हम कैसे पोलाइटली मना कर सकते हैं सर. सो अगर मान लीजिए बिजनेस ऐसा है जिसमें कुछ सीक्रेट्स हैं, तो उस ट्रेड सीक्रेट्स में हम कह सकते हैं कि सर, बट ये काम एसएससी को करना पड़ेगा सर. एसएससी को पोलाइटली ये कहना पड़ेगा कि बॉस, मेरे पास जो बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स हैं या मेरा जो भी डाटा है हम लोग जनरली बाहर शेयर नहीं करते सर. आपको जो भी देखना है आप आकर देख लीजिए, वी आर ओपन फॉर दैट. अगर आप उस तरीके की सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करने को रेडी हैं उसको, तो ही कैन नॉट आस्क फ्रॉम यू कि यू शुड प्रोवाइड अस द बेसिक डिटेल्स. बट अगर आप वैसा नहीं करते और हमको बहुत सी बार ऐसा लगता है कि यार डिपार्टमेंट से कौन पंगा ले, तो सर फिर देर इज अ प्रॉब्लम. अगर सारी चीजें अब सही हैं, आप कुछ केसेस में दे दें, और नहीं है तो मेरे ख्याल से तो नहीं देना चाहिए. सर एज फार एज सेक्शन सर्कुलर 171 की आप बात कर रहे हैं सर, तो सर्कुलर्स आर बाइंडिंग ऑन द डिपार्टमेंटल ऑफिसर्स, नॉट ऑन द असेसी. बट जब आप जाते हैं तो जनरली डिपार्टमेंट उन सर्कुलर्स को बेस लेकर ही हमारा असेसमेंट करता है. सो विघ्नेश सर, आई थिंक सो आपका क्वेश्चन हो गया. देन हाँ, in case of excessive stock, how they value, particularly in case of manufacturing industry. अगर आप बात कर रहे हैं मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंडस्ट्रीज में, तो जनरली हमारे पास जितना एक्सेसिव स्टॉक आता है वो उस स्टॉक को जो है डिपार्टमेंट जनरली उसको मार्केट प्राइस के ऊपर ही वैल्यू करता है सर. DRC one है, only show cause notice issue and time limit still pending, but officer block current as well as saving accounts on basis of DRC one after show cause without any demand order passed and no before blocking given to client. Can we file an application for rectification for the order issued by GST department under 73 by DRC 01? Yes, definitely sir, कर सकते हैं हम. और जनरली क्या है, जैसे ही आप करेंगे डिपार्टमेंट फिर भी मानेगा नहीं, तो व्हाट इज द best option available with you, we should go for the read petition in that case. Because जनरली देखिए क्या होता है कि अगर हम डिपार्टमेंट से कोई मर्सी एज सच मांगने जाते हैं तो डिपार्टमेंट हमें देता नहीं है. सो दैट इज द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम सर. इंटरेस्ट एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा इस केस में. अगर आपके पास सफिशिएंट इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट है, सो और आप उस सफिशिएंट इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट से अगर डिस्चार्ज कर रहे हैं अपनी टैक्स लाइबिलिटी को, तो इन दैट केस इंटरेस्ट इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी एप्लीकेबल. देखिए सर, अपील ही फाइल करना पड़ेगी. अगर आपको उन्होंने DRC 07 के अंदर कोई इंटरेस्ट भी लगा दिया है, पेनल्टी भी लगा दी है और सारी चीजें करी है, तो अपील इज द ओनली ऑप्शन सर. व्हाट इज द प्री डिफाइंड लिमिट फॉर DRC 01B एंड 1C? चेक करना पड़ेगा सर. सर मैंने आपको बताया जनरल पेनल्टी जो है वो लग सकती है आपकी, अगर मान लीजिए आपने प्लेस ऑफ बिजनेस को नहीं बताया, डिफाइन नहीं किया है, विद इन 15 डेज, तो जनरल पेनल्टी 25,000 रुपीज की वहां पर लग सकती है। और अगर डिपार्टमेंट सर्च सर्वे करता है और वहां पर आपका कोई स्टॉक पड़ा जाता है, तो डिपार्टमेंट हमेशा यही प्ली लेता है कि बॉस यू हैव रिमूव सच स्टॉक विदाउट इश्यूएंस ऑफ इनवॉइस, तो हम उसको काउंट में नहीं लेंगे। सर, डीलर ने अगर ये सारी चीजें प्रोड्यूस की है, डिपार्टमेंट उसको बोगस एज सच तो नहीं बोल सकता है सर, बट जनरली डिपार्टमेंट क्या करता है, सामने वाले के स्टेटमेंट के बिहाफ पे जो है उसको बोगस मानता है। बट आई कैन टेल यू कि इन कमिंग टाइम ये सारे जितने भी केसेस हैं जिसमें हमने, इफ आई हैव अ वैलिड इनवॉइस और वी हैव एस्टेब्लिश्ड टू प्रूव दैट कि वी हैव रिसीव्ड द गुड्स, बैंक से हमने सारा पेमेंट किया हुआ है और हम इनोसेंट हैं, अगर हम ये सब प्रूव करते हैं, तो इन कमिंग टाइम मैं ये तो नहीं कहता हूं कि अपील लेवल के ऊपर हमें कोई रेमेडी मिलेगी, बट यस, हम ये कह सकते हैं कि ट्राइब्यूनल से हमें इसमें कुछ ना कुछ रेमेडी जरूर मिलेगी। सर यस, डेफिनेटली नोटिस 73 में दिया जा सकता है ऑडिट के बाद भी। दोनों डिफरेंट प्रोसीडिंग्स हैं। 73 की प्रोसीडिंग्स आर डिफरेंट प्रोसीडिंग्स एंड सेक्शन 65 की प्रोसीडिंग्स आर डिफरेंट प्रोसीडिंग्स। तो इवन दो आपका अगर जीएसटी ऑडिट हो भी गया है, इट डजेंट मेक एनी डिफरेंस, आपके अगेंस्ट 73 की प्रोसीडिंग्स जो है वो इनिशिएट की जा सकती है। देखिए, इफ वी टॉक्स अबाउट द स्क्रूटनी ऑफ रिटर्न्स, तो स्क्रूटनी ऑफ रिटर्न जो है उसमें एक चीज होना जरूरी है। व्हाट इज द बेसिक डिफरेंस इन केस ऑफ जीएसटी स्क्रूटनी ऑफ रिटर्न्स? ओनस लाइज ऑन हुम? ओनस लाइज ऑन डिपार्टमेंट ऑफिसर। उसको प्रूव करना है कि मुझसे क्या गलती हुई है। अगर वो ये प्रूव करके मुझे नोटिस देता है, तो यस, डेफिनेटली ही कैन इशू नोटिस ऑन मी। सो दैट इज ऑल अबाउट। मेरे ख्याल से अनुराग सर ने रेज किया हुआ है हैंड, अगर अनम्यूट करना चाहें तो कर सकते हैं।
Am I audible, sir?
यस सर, यस सर।
Okay, my question is that if I am the tax auditor of a particular firm and there is some survey going on or the bogus purchases have been disallowed, I do not know how that case will turn later. So, do I have to report it in the tax audit report also as an auditor about this whole
डेफिनेटली
episode?
सर, इन केस ऑफ टैक्स ऑडिट 3CB जो है 3CD में, सो इन केस ऑफ 3CB और 3CA जो रिपोर्टिंग अदर पॉइंट्स हमारे आते हैं, उसमें वी कैन रिपोर्ट इट टू डिस्चार्ज दी अवर ओनर्स।
Okay, thank you, sir.
सो आई थिंक सो इट्स ओवर फ्रॉम माय साइड। सर दे कैन नॉट आस्क फॉर इंटरेस्ट सर। अगर आपके पास सफिशिएंट बैलेंस है इन योर क्रेडिट लेजर, सो दे कैन नॉट आस्क। मैं आपको केस लॉ भी दे दूंगा सर इसमें, और डिपार्टमेंट का खुद का सर्कुलर भी है सर। तो आई थिंक सो, मेरे ख्याल से सर कर सकते हैं।
Sir, sure, sir. Being weekday, there are almost 230 participants joined the webinars. It was a very wonderful, and thanks to especially to the Kirti sir for such a wonderful session and insights. Sir, I would like to present a small honor from the GST corner sites.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक
The
यू,
same will be displayed on your screen, sir.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू।
Okay, sir.
ओके सर,
At last, I will mention some closing remark regarding the today's webinar. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all of you, the esteemed participants, for joining us today. The invaluable insights shared by our esteemed speaker, Sir Kirti Joshi sir, have undoubtedly illuminated the complexities of the topic we explored. His expertise has equipped us with the practical strategies and essential knowledge to ensure seamless compliances and optimized tax efficiency. I trust that the key takeaways from the sessions, including identifying and preventing the bogus billing practices, managing overstocking and understocking situations effectively, understand the interplay between the GST and the income tax regulations, implementing best practices for the tax compliances, will serve as a valuable tool in our professional endeavors. Remember, the knowledge gained today is not meant to remain passive, it is a springboard for action. I encourage you to leverage this insight to make informed decisions, optimize your tax position, and achieve sustainable business growth. Once again, a heartful thank to CA Kirti Joshi sir for the
Thank you, sir.
enlightening
Thank you.
presentation and willingness to share his expertise. Your guidance has been invaluable to us for all of us for present today. To our esteemed participant, thank you for your active participation in insight questions. Your engagement has enriched the discussion and made the webinar a truly successful learned experience. Thank you. Have a wonderful day all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
And
sir.
sir, Yamaha Motors Private Limited का case law in ING, so you can take the benefit of particular that judgment.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.